Take it to the bank. Oh, how are you?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Irene.
That's great.
All right. It is 3:34 on Tuesday, May 25th. We'll officially call this budget hearing number 1 for Foothills Charter High School to order. Does anyone from the public have any comments or questions? Do we have anyone joining us? All right. Staff has already been apprised of the budget, so they are familiar, and I'm sure they don't have any questions. So we'll just give it 5 or 10 minutes and see if we have any questions from the general public. Otherwise, we will consider this hearing number 1 officially.
That's right.
Irene, hello? She may have stepped away. Oh,
No, I'm here. I'm here.
so, oh, I love your beautiful gladiolas behind you.
Those are in my front yard.
Wow.
So, aren't those pretty?
They're
Yeah.
beautiful.
In her free time, she's a gardener.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not. I've tried to, do you have glads, April, in your yard?
I love glads, but not in my yard now. I used to.
It's like you can't get rid of them. They just
I
keep
know.
growing. I
Yeah.
tried to dig them up and they keep coming up. So now I've got glads literally all over the place. Where they originally were, I've got 2 pots full of glads. And so I decided this summer I'm going to cut them constantly and bring them inside because they really
Enjoy
are
it,
pretty.
because they are beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just going to see if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're probably going to pause since
Oh,
we've had a hearing.
I joined early because I saw it, and I'm just trying to join 4 o'clock and be
Okay.
available for anything you guys need. I know I'm not on the schedule, but I just wanted to. Do I come back in at 4 then?
Yeah, I think it may be a different meeting ID, I think. At
Okay. Well,
4.
I'll text you if I can't get in with what I've
All
got.
right.
So
Okay,
no worries.
good.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Bye,
bye.
guys. Thanks so
Okay, bye.
much.
Thank you. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Right, out of respect for everyone's time, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock and we'll get started with our main meeting. Call the meeting to order. Dr. Gibney Sherman, do we have any changes to the agenda? No. Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
This is Beverly.
A second?
Second, this is Beverly.
Thank you, Bev. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. We have most of our members here. I think Dr. Franklin was with us and he's going to join us. I know he has graduation tonight, but we'll proceed since we do have a quorum, and we'll welcome him when he's able to join us. All right, we also, Dr. Gibney Sherman and Ms. Knight sent us ahead of time our minutes from March 24th, and they're provided. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March the 24th?
This is Jennifer. So moved.
Thank you, Jennifer. Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. Do I have a second? All right, Dr. Everson, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
And Dr. Franklin back? Okay, so we have everyone here, so. Do we have anyone call ahead for public comment? We did not. Okay, so we do not have public comment, and just for the purposes of the board, I think it's important that everybody's aware that we did host our first hearing for the budget at 3:30 this afternoon. We did not have anyone attend other than Irene Munn, but we're available for question and public comment. So outside of that, I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Gibney Sherman.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. As we go through the first attachment, this is our updated roster followed by the recommendations for the board at this meeting. Everything is customary. I would like to point out one it's a partnership with us. Lisa needed a part-time technology person, and we did, and somebody that worked with us there totally. And so we are collaborating with Lisa, and we are making recommendations for full-time, work half-time at Lisa. And then our student enrollment, we are right now, as of April the 30th, at 2,420. Amazing given this time. Our work has been to bring our students. We're still in process of trying to get them back. Hard, but we have to do more. As a matter of fact, that'll be the focus of our strategic plan. This is, it's really not too bad.
Our virtual programs.
Our virtual program, remember we kept a waiting list of. Interesting. Remember, these are kids with all of us. And we I'll post to you later in this meeting to do a cap on it. I might choose. Right now, we do have a waiting list. We have our 2 newsletters where our goal is to spotlight students. Notice that we are working on spotlighting students who graduate, find out what they're doing, more data collection on that. So you know what's happening with their grade. Right now, as of April 30th, we have 198. It's lower than we're accustomed to. And as a matter of fact, our first graduation is tonight. We're well underway. Since we've opened Foothills, again, has a 1,400. 1,429 souls who did everything they did in high school. And moving into the programs, you still have the comprehensive performance framework posted, and that will go in July. That is a performance framework adopted by the state charter schools. I'm just leaving it there until we're done with this. And then sustainability plan, that's our other newsletter where we focus on what we're doing to make sure primarily focuses on curriculum, work, and data. Matter of fact, in this room today, practice and some other folks looking at how and who collects what and where it crisscrosses in the ways that we need us a lot more cross and where we also put things forward, side more, a bit more. Then our end of course, again, the scores, the numbers are very, very low. For some people, but for us, so far, 210. We only have 4 tests. Our scoring, but it's we're only looking at 4 tests. The part is what we're doing. So we're having to be zero laser focus on. Then the career pathway, this is just exploding. Proud of what's going on with the opportunities we're presenting to our students. Not only do they get, but they are getting the opportunity to actually get jobs out in the community once they do. Right now, today, in Jackson County, we have kids who are earning all their credentials. This is our growth. What I've asked my Irene Munn to do is to summarize all the different things. And we're going to start this fall at EMT. Definitely, I know you know about this. Over in Oglethorpe County, where the EMT kids are going to get training and get credentials. That's a big project that we have. Providing other Foothills students who Madison would be a big. We're also doing construction ready, some work in Baldwin with healthcare and also welding. We're also doing corporate precision. You just cannot believe what's happening. These kids are getting trained, they're getting credentials, and more importantly, I have to tell you, all the work we've done with our legislators. So we are showing the pathway to building our world. Then we have for you an updated list of graduation with functionality demonstrates that list. This one's not as a Clark, but since there's so few students who are with us at this point, some of those are being. But however the student wants to celebrate is our celebration. We'll host a regional graduation in August, so if they don't want to do it now, they can stage. Right. That's in the way it's. Want to catch up with us, stay on the website because this is changing. And then we're getting ready for financials. But before we do that, do you have any questions?
Anybody online have any questions, Bev or Dr. Franklin or Dr. Price or Butler?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Looks like Bonnie's going to go into discussion items. Financials.
Thanks. So the financials, attachment 10A and 10B are you're should be pretty familiar with. They're your standard financial statements that we've been looking at. And just to note on the financials as of April 30th, you'll see that our fund balance dipped a little bit, still very nice and plenty big, but it's smaller than it has been in previous months. And that's just because we paid the supplements out that we all approved and we had not drawn down the CARES 2 money, and that will cover the majority of those supplements. So once we draw that back down, the fund balance is going to jump back up. And as you know, we've seen with the budget and the budget projections, we're anticipating ending the year with approximately 16 million in the fund balance. It's extremely large. It is what it is. But so we are definitely financially stable, and things are going well. And we have our investment sheet there attached for you as well, and we continue to monitor that monthly and make sure that our money is being used wisely by versus that we're earning additional funds there as well. So, any questions about the financials? And the second statement is just the regular statement that we do to look at Heartland expenditures. And you can see that we actually have an excess, of revenues over expenditures. You remember the revenues that I'm pulling are the 148 bid students that we had in the March FTE count last spring. We're not technically receiving those yet, but we will. And so that's why I'm using those on this statement. And so we're doing very well there as well, continuing to support Heartland and questions about financials? The auditor recommendation. The auditor recommendation is the same as it's been for the last 4 years. We would like to recommend that we call it Meba, which is his first name, to continue to do our audit. This is our last audit with the SCSC as we transition to the Department of Education. So just as a reminder, the SCSC will pay for this audit, but we do pay him to file our IRS 990T form that we're required as a nonprofit to file when he finishes our audit. So he's done a great job for us in the past. He's very easy to work with and very complete and thorough in his audit. So we'd like to recommend it.
Thank you, Bob. And then I've asked Greg to give us an update where we stand.
Yes, everybody clearly understands SB 153 is guiding a lot of the work that we're doing in the remaining part of our charter term. Most pressing is the need for us to transition to the Georgia State Board of Education as our authorizer. We're working very closely in what I've termed phase one of that work, in making sure we're able to transition by July 1. You see in this document some the key tasks and milestones that we're working on. One other update since this update was completed is that we have seen a copy of our draft charter contract provided by DOE. It is largely form boilerplate wise, very similar to our current charter contracts. Some very key departures that are quite honestly more favorable for the schools, and that it gets back to providing greater flexibility for the charter schools, whereas the commission had to react to schools that were behaving poorly in a broad manner. We're going back to really having more flexibility on things like enrollment and lottery procedures. That's very positive. One point of concern that we're going to have to work with as a team really is the accountability metrics. They don't have the formality around academic accountability that the commission does. They have a lot of the same measures and a lot of different ways to establish that we're making academic progress, but it's not as formalized. As friendly perhaps to schools that serve non-traditional students. We have plenty of ways to be able to make our academic accountability standards. There's just going to be a little bit fewer than what under our current charter. Kind of where, and then of course, with regard to phases 2 and beyond, we're doing a lot of great communication outreach led by Paul and Irene. Our team to really make sure all of our stakeholders understand where we're coming from, the great work that we do, and our goal to see it continue in a sustainable manner.
You might want to mention the distinguishing marks between expansion.
So there was some ambiguity in the bill, and DOE has given their opinion as to what is allowable for expansion. Under SB 153, each school can add 1 site per year, but that 1 site has to be in the RESA district, RESA catchment area. Houses the headquarters of the schools at which they were on January 1, 2021. In other words, Foothills is restricted to Northeast Georgia RISA, coastal plains, and wherever the RISA with Candler is, and then head to the Pioneer RISA. And then with this, so the other complicating factor to that is those students under the law only earn QE dollars. They will not earn any sort of state charter supplement, no other funding that's straight about $2,400. And then the bill does allow each school to expand enrollment up to 3% each year. Those students are eligible to receive state charter supplement dollars. So they will get QBE and state charter supplement.
Any of our current sites like BIB and funds, those students will generate this funds because they're still part of any of our current sites. Will generate 3%.
Graduate will be capped. We're not.
You couldn't open it, so it has to be within the section. The sites we have now, grow that, so it would be good to grow some severe population.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know.
Rationale, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That was an important distinction. Different sites. This is Greg did a nice job on this. That's where we are today.
From a macro level, do you think the DOE is understanding?
Sure, I think so. I agree that's where it is, but I think to be big here, I think they're trying to interpret to operationalize it so we can move forward. And then what Chris Irwin referenced this morning, that study committee will work this phase 2. His references. So I've just made peace for this year and then do everything we can. So get the results. Thanks.
I keep thinking about the House, I mean, the House committee that Georgia has.
And I hear that. And you would. Paul, did you want to add something to that?
I would just say that the fact what y'all are talking about is not accidental. I think they want this committee to address these issues before the expansion. So it's not, I don't think it's like somebody accidentally used this language and didn't stop to think about the implications. I think they wanted to say, okay, let's come together and address how we're going to do it before you take one more step.
Beverly commented, we can all speak up, it kind of fades in and out. I think we're a little bit in front of the mics. So speak up, be aware.
Speak up, Bev.
I can hear you perfectly, April.
Greg, thank you for that. Thank you for your. This is taking a lot of energy to understand what's happening and to make sure we're on the front end, not the back. Next item, April, if I could, is the virtual campus. We spoke about this earlier. We did cap it at the last meeting. The board approved capping their enrollment to 300. Still have a lot of logistics. And they are 300 with a wait list. And that is going to a recommendation is to limit enrollment to students from age 16. Younger kids are having a hard time. From a parent program. Foothills is about kids owning their education. Not for all, but for many. We cannot really be.
Are we able to do something?
Yes and no.
Just seems like
The counselor is full-time. She does a lot of work. We have a social worker. We have virtual education stuff. We have had some things happen. I'm not surprised about that require a lot of attention. Here. What we've done in the virtual campus, each teacher also serves as a mentor or designated students. They get that SEL of their experience with Foothills. So that way we have a way to come to we've been able to serve students who ordinarily would not. Issues, frustration issues. It varies from the SEL. It's not as strong as being a person. Truthfully, but what we're doing, we're mitigating that.
Hey, gang, the sound is going in and out. I think at least 3 of us online it's getting choppy for some reason. We're definitely having an issue hearing Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry is the one yeah, Sherry, you're gonna have to either move or speak up.
Oh, this is still on. Really need to be kind of above this line because, or I can just hit your mic. How about that?
How about this?
They'll hear you real.
Okay. The infomercial, you have a new brochure with all our latest sites on here, new addresses. So that's what's interesting. Just for that. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, did you get the whole virtual campus?
It was a little choppy. You may want to give us a quick recap. Sorry.
We are asking the board to approve an age limit for the virtual campus. We're finding the younger students have a hard time with attending. And so we're recommending that no students under the age of 16 be allowed to enroll in the virtual campus.
Yep, we've talked about that before. That sounds great to me personally, and it sounds like with our cap, we'll have no trouble hitting that cap anyway.
Will not have any trouble with that. And I think the students that are on the wait list that might be under 16, we will coach them to go to one of our sites. If they're on the wait list, we're not serving them. And the ones that we're already serving that are under 16, we will work with them, but they'll have some restrictions as far as attendance. And we'll coach them to a regular site if possible, so we can bring it back down to some no one is under 16. Thank you, and sorry about the volume. Next, we have our updated handbook, student handbook that's required every year with all the updates after the legislative session. We also have the updated business operations handbook after the session, the impact from Senate Bill 153. And then we have the superintendent's evaluation and contract addendum. We'll do that in the executive session in just. Then we have more business to take care of. The Foothills Governance Board Officers election. Earlier, we passed out the governance training documentation. Passed out for those who are here in person. For those who are not, I've asked Tracy to mail those to you. Let me, if I could come back to the election table, if you don't mind,
Please.
and let me take care of the business here. We have several policies that that Greg has updated for us. And Greg, if you could just briefly go through each one, and we will put these on.
So policy BD, as the governing board is aware, we are doing a policy review to make sure all of our policies are up to date and accurate. And policy BD kind of guides that work in the superintendent's bigger directive, as well as the governing board as to how policies are to be adopted and what should be. Next is policy EG8E, which is our new annuities policy. This is required to give the superintendent the authority to do matching contributions, as well as adhere generally to our deferred compensation plans, our 457s and 430s. Next is policy GAK. We introduced this policy for revision at our last meeting and have decided to pull it back and reintroduce it because it didn't serve its purpose. The purpose, as you see there, is to clarify how we redo our background checks for certified personnel and when. It was a little ambiguous as to who would do it when we were the employer. The other district was taking care of the recertification process. So we have revised the language and have it back before you. And our final policy is our bullying policy. This adds a little bit of language required by the State Charter Schools Commission, which again does not do any harm now that we're not with them. That basically states that we will notify parents and guardians when bullying occurs, which is a duplication of what's required by law, as well as to assign them to an alternative setting again already. We are making sure we're consistent. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? Is there-
They, according to policy BD, they will lay on the table, but in the future, the board has the authority to pull them off and put them on the solutions.
We pass our policy. We don't have to do. Okay, all right, and then two more items, then we'll come back to Department of Corrections. Actually, just yesterday, we talked with Jennifer, who is actually a staff person at Corrections and on the government. Usual. But we talked with Jennifer and Jay Sanders, who is her boss there, who's over everything educational at the Department of Corrections, and Greg and Bonnie and I looking at the contract that we have with Corrections. There's 2 points that we're in discussion about, and one is the goals that are set for the students at Corrections, and how if Jay has to produce some numbers showing that there may be progress. Graduation is just not viable goal, as there are a lot of conditions for the students. How long they're there, where they started from, some factors have to be worked through. So we're trying to find some other goals that would be helpful to Corrections so they can show that So that's something that Greg is working on. We're working with our data team staff to find goals that shows progress. That's progress. And Jay seemed to feel comfortable that that would be part of his thing. Showing individual graduates is really tough. There's a lot of factors. You can't get to them, you can't do it. That's one piece. Second piece is looking at the way we pay corrections. And this started over 6 years ago. We opened up, actually more than 6 years ago. We serve a lot of students at the Department of Corrections who are not states. So we cannot use state dollars to fund the education of those students. And we do collect FTE to so people over half the kids we serve. So we have to charge the Department of Corrections over $100,000 to make up the difference, but it really doesn't. It becomes fall short. So we're trying to work out a way that that's different. We're still trying to understand what would be helpful to the corrections, showing that. So those two issues we're working on, and we're meeting in a couple of weeks. 15, June 15th, see what we can come up. We're still working on that. Those are the two issues. Jennifer, was there anything else that needed to about that?
No, I think you've got them both, Sherry.
This is the first time that we've had to stop this. We're not real sure. Doing everything we can. And we're also looking at the technology part because corrections kids don't get access to our full curriculum. That's another problem. So Jay and his staff are trying to figure out a way for that.
And Sherry, with the technology piece, we met today with our technology team, and we did determine that we believe that if we hosted the videos ourselves, that they would be able to play. And so Dan is going to work on that. And of course, we'll want to get with Leo about that. I don't know all the technology ins and outs, of course, but we are working to find a solution to be sure that all videos will play for our students.
Right. Okay. I have already spoken with Leo. It turns out Leo is navigating this meeting for us, and so we will be very glad to get back.
Okay.
What she has in mind. Those are important pieces. All right. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. And then the last item here before I circle back around to the elections is the department building. We spent a lot of energy and time here. Greg has provided great documentation, summarize where we are with that, and something else we'd like to ask for.
So yes, using my words carefully, in that an ongoing consequence of the pandemic is the complete chaos of the unemployment compensation program, both at the state and federal level. And nobody's really at fault there. Nobody could have predicted this. Reactions could have been better, but we're all still picking out the pieces. Two of the issues that we're working with are, let's do the easy one first, is our quarterly bill. Based on the department's regulations, our quarterly bill for the partial unemployment claims that we submitted should be zero. We were promised, based on the language of the rule, that the federal money would reimburse employers eventually. But we're still getting quarterly bills based on how the old system works. And so we're looking at bills in around the $600,000 range per quarter. There is conflicting advice related as to how school districts are handling those. Some are paying them, others are not paying them and trying to exhaust administrative avenues for really getting the bill to be resolved. We're in that same kind of boat. To date, we have been working with the department, communicating with them, sending them letters saying, this bill is not consistent with the regulations we passed. We're not going to pay until we're able to discuss it and get some sort of resolution. And we've been working with Dan Murphy on that as well, and we think that's a fair approach, but we do want to let the board know that risk is out there, because it is. But we don't feel that any sort of equity or legal process can rest on an agency that doesn't communicate with people that's trying to serve. Legal basis for that, but that's kind of where we are. Second, more complicated issue is, of course, the partial unemployment claims, and that the department is realizing issues that we kind of saw coming a year ago, and had some very unintended consequences were going to happen based on the language of the rules that were written, and that's happening. What's happening is our employees are getting some very threatening letters, and again, the Department of Labor is just doing its job, that our employees are getting scary letters saying, pay us this money, or else really. We've been working with Dan and other individuals to try and find a solution. And really, with a direct solution with the Department of Labor, there's not. These are matters that, in the department's eyes, and procedurally between the Department of Labor and the employee. The problem with that is the employee did nothing. Based on the regulatory structure in which we found ourselves, the employees did nothing and got debit cards, and now are being asked to pay back money that they did nothing to do. So we are trying to find a way to make sure that the employees are treated as fairly and equitably as possible. Quite frankly, I'm skeptical about the willingness of the Department of Labor to be able to fill that void. And so one of the things that we're proposing is that if there is no other option, if the employee has exhausted his or her administrative process with the Department of Labor and still being forced to repay money that they no action to receive, we want the superintendent to have the authority to establish a program with accountability requirements that meet our taxpayer obligations for fulfilling our duties with public funds, to be able to compensate our employees for any money that have to be first upon. That's an extraordinarily long-winded way of saying we want to help our employees pay back any money they may have to pay back to the public.
I would like to point out that, because we filed paid over dollars, are the reason of fund balance. So it would basically be that same money.
There's school districts like ours who didn't file, but for very few that paid. It's pay now or pay later. We're paying later because
in most normal circumstances, I would advise against paying into public employees for not providing service. But these are exceptional circumstances, and quite frankly, these actions are this action is different from the districts who had to respond in like time at that time.
That's exactly, and that was going on all over the state. Jennifer, that was some of what Jay was talking about. We didn't pay them. Filed them. And we're having to go back, basically pay people. We only paid them what we filed for. There were additional funds that were given to employees and some or that will never understand. They kept giving the money. That's not what we're just being accountable for.
anybody on the board that's joining remotely have any questions about that? Be an action item.
We're struggling with the same kinds of things. When do you pay it? We've appealed all of them, but we're just accruing different charges for not paying it. So it's pay now, pay later.
Yeah, this is Norris. I was gonna say that our attorney has advised us to pay it. And then come back and appeal it because of all the penalties that we would incur by not paying it.
That's us too.
Same in Walton, and I don't think we had as many. I'm not sure what we did different, but we don't have as many, so we went ahead and paid those up front again, as Dr. Price said, with the fees, and didn't want to fight that piece. You guys may have said it, and the sound is coming through a little choppy. I may have missed it, but any estimation on what this, could be in terms of payout on our part for our staff?
Yes, since we don't intend to reimburse any of the federal unemployment, we are able to have a better idea of what the state payout would have been. And we do think that is capped at the 1.8.
Say that again, how much?
1.8 million.
And
1.8.
at the highest,
Right.
if they reimburse it, or if they pay back and ask us to reimburse them.
That's correct.
Employees still have tax implications on their own too, don't they? They'll have to pay the taxes on this income next year.
Yes, and to their credit, the IRS is redoing a lot of this, the tax recalculations automatically. So some individuals who filed based on the old tax treatment of unemployment compensation are automatically getting checks now. Some changes in the law.
It's
It's a mess.
Now, we have not communicated this out, I wanted today to happen. Make sure the board was comfortable and that it was approved. And then what we'll do is communicate out tomorrow that this, if they follow through these procedures, we'll work through a way to reimburse them. We'll do this quickly as we can for stress.
A way to pay them.
Way to talk to us, yeah.
I'm just thinking about Keith's point.
People are talking.
I think that's the best we can do. I mean,
One thing, if the Department of Labor somehow comes to their senses, decides these people don't pay this back, and we've already reimbursed them, do we have a mechanism to pull that money back?
Yes, we will do essentially an assurance pay, right? Like with any grant that would say one of the provisions would be if you are, for whatever reason, do not get this money back from Department of Labor or another source.
Or we know that though, if it goes directly to them.
Yes, that's therein lies the rub.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the Foothills folks, there were claims both at the school and with Foothills if they were employed by both.
Okay, yes.
Is this going to complicate it? If we're giving, sort of helping out in one area, but not the other.
I think, that is a very real possibility. I think there are, and I'm looking at Bonnie and speculating in my head, the number of employees who would have been eligible, both employers, has got to be pretty small because you would have had to be hourly at both places. I think.
Well, and even some of the hourly employees, I don't think the traditional, for like parapros and things like that. So I think like a bus driver, well, but y'all didn't even file, a lot of places didn't even file for their bus drivers and stuff. The issue, the letters that I've seen have not been that they filed in two places. It's that Foothills filed on their behalf and And oh, by the way, you work in Jackson County for $40,000 a year, Foothills shouldn't have filed. Well, that's not what that's not what the regulation said that we had to follow. And so now they're saying you're not eligible for unemployment to pay that money back. We've not seen a letter where they're saying they worked in 2 places. I'm not saying that's not out there.
Well, we've received letters on people who we didn't file on.
Okay.
I received a letter on one of our board members, and his place of employment filed on his behalf. So I don't know that the letters we're necessarily receiving are just on people. Well, I know it's not just on people we filed on. So I know, the Foothills folks are considered, if they work in their 2 days, were they filed on as full-time employees or, whatever percentage.
We only filed on part-time people.
And we did a look back period September of 2020 to February of 2021. Sorry, my years are getting. We did a look back period and we took an average of their weekly hours. So some people didn't even get 2 nights. If they were only working 1 night during that time, we calculated their average pay, and then Greg worked tirelessly and put that uploaded individual amounts in there for each person. So it was clear that they were part-time, but what it appears to be, and Greg and I have talked about this, is the Department of Labor system is linking them and traditional school districts or other employers outside of the school district are sending in 941s with their name and their social as well. And that's what's kicking out these form letters that, don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it seems to be anybody who, if we claim them at 100% and then you claimed them, it seems like
Yes.
it's reading it as double dipping. I don't know what the answer is really.
Did I see an email the other day, Dr. Gibby Sherman, on to all staff, or maybe that was just in-house, that letting them know that we planned our wishes to cover this if they have to pay it back?
We didn't send that.
Say again, I'm sorry, you broke up.
I got the email he's referring to also.
I think it went to regional directors and.
Just to.
I think it's regional directors and board members.
Yeah, I think I just did that internally, like to us.
Yeah.
That was what we talked about and when we did our
This
business.
is something else that we're going to talk about today, but I don't think it's
Am I thinking right? And y'all forgive my ignorance here. We basically had concerns about what we were asked to send in, and based on DOL information, we sent it in anyway. And I guess at some point they decided maybe that wasn't correct, and that's why they're asking for this money back. And they're calling these people overpaid, or is it because they're confused because they have 2 employers?
Yes, all of the above. I think that's a great summary of why we're here.
I certainly understand taking care of our employees. We appreciate the work they do, but in Walton County, and I can't speak for every district, if we find out that payroll accidentally keyed, and it's happened a couple of times, we key an extracurricular supplement in that's supposed to be, $920, and they accidentally key it in for $920 per pay period. We catch that mistake, and unfortunately, they have to pay it back because they were overpaid. If they were truly overpaid, that's my only holdup. In most cases, if you're overpaid, you have to pay it back.
And we're the same way, Nathan. We also, if we catch an error like that, it's retroactive. They've got to go back and pay it. We told ours, do not spend this money. Do not, leave it sitting, put it into another account. Do not spend it in case of this issue. So are we thinking people have gone ahead and spent the money and now they've been asked to pay it back and Foothills is wanting to foot the bill for them? I got very choppy for a while, so I didn't catch it all.
Yes. Yes.
What, any estimation on, what is the average Foothill employee? Are we talking $400 to $600? We got some folks out there that this might be $4,000 or $5,000. Any idea?
Yes.
I lost you guys.
Oh, no,
No, he's pulling up a spreadsheet.
I know for mine, Nathan, that what they got from our school system, which was only after school, because they were still getting a full paycheck. So anybody who worked after school, what they got from us was pittance compared to what they were receiving from their work at Foothills.
Most I would see an employee having to pay back, and this would be very few, would be $33,285. That's calculations based off of the weekly maximum benefit amounts.
How much you say? I'm sorry.
3,280.
3,000. I thought you said 33,000. I'm thinking.
I did too. I did
3,000. I got you. I mean, I don't think there'll be much overlap, but let's say, person X works for me and works for Foothills or Walton County and Foothills. It's chances of it being the same person obviously are slim to none, but they got $800 or $800 from Foothills side. Foothills, they pay it back. Foothills writes them a check for $800. Meanwhile, that same person, we made sign a affidavit to pay us back. That's how we handle it. If you get overpaid, you have to pay us back. And if you say, sorry, I spent the money, then you come in and basically sign a law enforcement affidavit on a plan to pay it back. I don't think we'll have any overlap like that, but it's quite a different stance.
Are any of our other districts doing anything like this?
Not that I've heard or know of.
I think the unique thing about Foothills is almost all of the employees are half-time or in addition to. For us, most of our classified staff, we didn't file on their behalf, but we found things for them to do and we never stopped paying. Like we still ran payroll. I think most of our districts didn't cease payment for people who were bus drivers, school nutrition and so forth. We continue to pay those folks and find things for them to do to the best of our ability. These folks, this is their second job or they're only a half-time or hourly employee. So that's why Foothills filed on their behalf, because it may be.
We did not pay anything.
And they didn't get paid anything. Right. So
And if they worked less hours than they normally would have worked.
you pay your partial.
Unemployment.
Yeah. So we're doing the same thing that I hear Beverly and Nathan talk about, that if they get overpaid, they have to pay us back. But I think this is a little bit of a different situation, but I'm not suggesting another answer, because the perception too could be, to some extent, they're getting paid twice because they received that unemployment. And then we're paying them as well. But
That's the thing I worry about is we received the unemployment, they spent it, and now we're paying it back on their behalf. They're getting paid twice, and I understand they're in a tough predicament. But
I think the key is if there was any way that we could pay it back directly, then it would be the same thing that our districts did, and that we paid them for minimum services regular, for lack of better. But if the only way to get the money back to the Department of Labor is through the employee, and they did receive the funds twice, right?
There's no way for us to know if they actually, we paid them, reimbursed them. You have no way of knowing if they actually took that money and paid the debt off to the Department of Labor.
No,
Their problem. We would require evidence of that, of the payment, right? We would only reimburse them if they had already.
does that clear Foothills of some of this stuff? Because that's on the employee side, right? That's not on the employer side. I mean,
I think they're two issues that are separate.
that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't,
Dewey's after an employee. They're incentive.
Just for clarification, we're not holding 1.8 million that they sent us. This is just our fund balance that we're trying to say, sorry, we got your back because of the error the Department of Labor made, right? This is not money they've sent us to hold.
at 1.8, I think is the accrued salaries we did not pay.
That's right.
That were in, because we didn't pay folks.
So that's all reported for. Department of Labor bill, I mean. Not something they sent us, it's just an estimate of what we filed claims for. Would have paid them as
Salaries.
salaries.
And do we have more situations like this because of our unique setup, having people working for other folks, working for us? Or is this something that other districts, I mean, to my knowledge, there are no districts paying this DOL mistake on behalf of the folks that have spent it.
And April said it, and so you guys may understand this, but all of our teachers were part-time, and all of our staff at the sites, except for site directors and the registrars, were part-time. So basically, Foothills filed for from the third week in March until the second week in July. Every week, we filed for over 80% of our staff. We filed an employment claim. All the traditional sites, for over 80% of your staff, you paid whether they worked or not. We didn't do that. So our staff would have gotten nothing if we didn't file an employment. They got the unemployment, and now they're having to pay that back. So if they pay that back, they will have nothing for that time.
And all they asked,
Will have what you paid. Does that make sense?
are they being asked to pay back the entire amount that was given to them?
Some, not all.
So how are you gonna figure out? I mean, are you doing you're wanting to do reimbursement on just a case by case basis?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel better about this knowing that we're going to reimburse them once they show evidence that they paid this debt off to the Department of Labor, and knowing that we saved that same amount of money, so it's not costing Foothills anything. It's just a wash, basically. I do feel better about that.
I agree, Keith, that, it's sort of and I know you called it a reimbursement, but I figured you were paying it on their behalf. So once they pay the amount to DOL, then they can claim that amount from Foothills.
Up to the amount that we paid.
Up to the amount that was paid, and that probably still doesn't equal what they lost.
That's correct.
and I think potentially, since most of these people also either now or have worked in traditional schools, to kind of let us off the hook, we say, in most instances, traditional schools continue to pay their employees and did not file unemployment on their behalf. It's just a trade-off. So then they understand that they're not getting something in addition to, it's just.
I agree. I think that is a difference. Good clarification point.
Our trouble's going to be, we only filed on those that worked like our after-school program.
Right.
Us
They
too.
lost that income. And so there is that disparity, but we'll just have to deal with that.
Yep.
So for those who were advised, do not spend it, and they get this bill, they just take their money, return it, and then there's no reimbursement.
Well, they have to go through the whole appeal process with the Department of Labor before they can request it. Right.
So part of our checkoff is that we have to have proof that they have made payment. Bill. And then the affidavit of some sort that if you do get it back, hey, this thing is going. Help them get that last step. At least Again, and I think somebody said that, they are actually getting 2 payments, but they're only getting 1.
Right.
Because they're having to get 1 back.
What is the total if everybody claims them and pays back and puts in a claim? What's the total amount, the max amount we would be looking at?
So 1.8 million, right?
You need to one way.
Yeah, it would, yes.
I thought the 1.8 million was the money we didn't spend on this.
That 1.8 is our liability,
Oh, okay.
our overall liability if we had to pay out.
Gotcha.
From a board perspective, and I think what we do is, my recommendation, and I'm just thinking out loud, is that we support making sure that we take care of our employees, but let's make sure that our employees are first trying to take care of themselves. And they advocate, and if they have to pay it back, then it's an individual process that you all have our support to follow. Is that more or less what we're saying?
Yep. If they expend all appeals and do their part and they're forced to pay it, we'll stand ready once they show proof to reimburse. And the difference, and you guys clarify that, I feel better about it. The difference is they were never paid from us to begin with, like most other districts did.
That's right. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you for being patient with us as we got it, as we wrapped our minds around it.
And all, I mean, this is what board governance is.
That's right.
Thank you for being patient with us. We've spent a lot of time on this, and Dan Murphy has been joining us. So I'm at peace with this. All the provisions. I know April has got to get back for her own board meeting. Can I please look at through and see what we got? Department of Labor was one contract.
Yeah,
Let's go back. Let's go back to the elections and for elections. As you know, Maurice, thanks for joining us. Maurice is going to be rolling in and taking April's place at the July 1 as our board member representing the middle-sized school district. So that'll happen in July. And Maurice, thank you for that. And we need to have election of officers for this next year. So we can call the meetings. So,
technically, I think board needs to make the recommendations. Since I believe that Dr. Franklin has served as vice chair, I won't be on the upcoming board, so it's most appropriate probably for future board members to make a recommendation, but I would recommend Dr. Franklin as chair of the Foothills board.
We're good to make that motion now. I make the motion that Dr. Franklin be the chair for FY23.
I'll second that motion.
Good. Do we have a recommendation?
did he accept that?
Oh, did you accept that, Dr.
I didn't
Franklin?
ask that question.
Can we vote against ourselves? If not, I'll happily accept the confidence. Appreciate it. Sorry, the sound was going in and out a little bit. I didn't catch some of it, but thank you for the nomination.
Got a 3-year contract, Mr. Chair.
That's what I'm gonna say. Do I have a choice?
Is there a nomination on the floor for a vice chair?
If she would accept, I would nominate Beverly as a veteran board member to serve as vice chair for next year.
Okay.
Beverly, do you accept that nomination?
I don't know about the veteran part, but yes, I'll accept that nomination.
Excellent. All in favor? Support of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Very good. So thank you all for your service. This is important. As we've just seen through this conversation, it doesn't take a ton of time, but the work that we do is important. And so thank you for that leadership. Right. Give me Sherman, is that all the discussion items?
It is, and then everything will be, and then you have one executive session.
Right. You've got executive session next. Do you want to do that? Come back and take action?
Please.
Take action. Okay, well, let's do that. We have step up here. We're supposed to do.
Yes, no.
I couldn't hear you guys. Is it time for executive session first? Was that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes. And
Do we have a
so,
motion for that?
so when they're gonna create,
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin, in a second.
So,
Beverly,
I'll second that.
and Jennifer. In the conference room, because that's what you're doing.
Doris. The conference room. Okay, you should see, I'm gonna open executive session room and you can just jump in.
I'm sorry, went in and out. I lost the sound for a minute.
Sure, you should see on your screen, you can join the executive session room.
I don't have it on my screen.
Norris is in. Norris, I think they've, only the board members that are currently.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
But just, yeah, so you stick around,
Yeah,
after
Okay.
they're done,
Yeah.
they'll come back into this table.
and vote on the action item.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you hear me, Leo?
Yeah, you're back on.
Look, everybody came back.
Who adjourned us?
Nathan made a motion, Keith seconded. All right, we have completed our executive session. Thank you to board members who joined us in the breakout for executive session, and now we are reconvening.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion, we come out of executive session.
All right, Dr. Everson, we are back in our general meeting, and I believe the last item are our action items. If you've had a chance, I don't know, you've got 8A through H. Or are there any questions about any of the action items, or do we have support for consent agenda on these?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve action items 8A through H. We have a second.
Second.
Jennifer Irwin, thank you so much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Aye.
All right, any other updates or conversations before we adjourn?
Oh, we do have two more, we have one more budget hearing meeting, and then we have a call meeting. Budget.
June 22nd.
June the 22nd. And then our next meeting, April, that will not be in, it's July the 28th.
I will tune into the June 22nd budget hearing so that we can check that box, and then the board needs to approve the budget at that meeting as well. That's right. Yeah. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Hope everybody has a great couple of weeks close up of school, and I think we are done.
All right, have a good time at graduation. Good luck.
Well done. Good job, Dr. Howard.
I'm gonna go to Lynn, I said, look.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Heading to graduation number 1.
Enjoy.
Good luck, Nathan.
Have fun.